Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Full Tank Motorcycle Podcast. And you join us today on location at ABR Festival, or Adventure Bike Rider Festival. Got here yesterday, mate. Couple of beers.
Yeah, a few, yeah.
And then we thought we'd crack on with our regular programming and news episode, but theme it a little bit around the theme of this particular festival and event with a few adventure bike focused stories. So let's jump in, I think, mate, with the first one. I say adventure bike focused. I think that's because that's where I predominantly see this tech being used. But in a recent episode, we talked about automated manual transmission becoming like more and more of a thing. BMW have announced it. KTM have announced it. We've got E-Clutch from Honda, which is similar in intent, let's say. But we had official news just a couple of days before this festival that Yamaha have announced their Y-AMT, I think it's called, so Yamaha Automated Manual Transmission. And this has to be the biggest trend in motorcycling at the moment.
That's what I said, though, at the time, wasn't it? That I think it's one of those things where all the brands are going to be like, oh, no, I don't want to be behind the curve.
Yeah.
And they jump on it.
You're doing it, so I've got to do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's an arms race, isn't it, in a sense, then?
Yeah, I suppose so, but I'm still in the mindset that I can't really see where this has all come from, and I couldn't really get my head around the fact that people really, really wanted this. Because I think bikers are generally less... not open to tech, but it just doesn't seem to matter as much, and there's a lot of people who actively don't want it. They want simpler bikes.
I think, there's two camps though, aren't there? Because there are other people, and this is a perfect example of that, because even actually in the adventure world, you have people that are staunch advocates of take away all the rider aids, just give me a bike with nothing on it, don't want traction control, ABS, I just want to go and send it off-road. And then there are people here who have, I want everything on I want it basically to be a car on two wheels, which is the other camp of this as well. So, I don't know, there is obviously an audience for it, but...
Absolutely. Well, I think there's a little bit of background from Yamaha in this press release, which is quite interesting. I mean, for anyone who didn't hear the previous episode where we talked about it, effectively this allows you to run your bike in an automatic mode, or you can put it in manual and you use the buttons on the switchgear. So for all intents and purposes, it behaves like a DCT Honda dual clutch transmission, but it's just achieved in a simpler way because it's not a fundamentally massively different gearbox and clutch. You've just got electronic actuators on the clutch and the gearbox that kind of do it on your behalf. So you can either have the bike picking the gears or you can pick them yourself, but it's all done electronically, including the clutch, which will give you a sort of twist and go style riding experience where you don't have to pull the clutch in to stop or let it out to creep forward. So yeah, that's exactly what Yamaha have gone with as well. It sounds like it's going to behave in pretty much the same way as the BMW version, the KTM version that they were testing on a 1390 Super Adventure, I believe, at Hertzberg Rodeo, which is a hardcore enduro event. So yeah, that's why I think it probably lends itself to like adventure bikes, adventure tourers, and that sort of thing. That seems to be where a lot
you're going to stick on the
manufacturers
flagships, aren't you? It makes the most sense,
Yeah, totally. And stuff like the Africa Twin with the DCT has proven, that there is a market for adventure bikes with this sort of riding experience. And I will say as well, from going to the Honda Adventure experience, we were both really impressed with it off-road. I thought I was going to hate it and want the clutch and the safety of the clutch. But you enjoyed it as well.
I think I preferred it, actually, in all honesty, on the day. Because, the hardest part, I suppose, what I went into it wondering was, how does it perform on the initial bite, right? Because that, I think, is the make or break moment if you're going to go and take it off-road. That could ruin your day. Because a lot of it you're going to be doing in first gear, second gear, just teasing the clutch ordinarily. So you need it to perform smoothly, and you need it to be predictable when you just roll on. And it really was. And I have people who are on the manual versions, and we'd be doing sections, and I must have been hitting it reasonably well, that were asking me advice, as in asking my bike advice. They're like, what gear did your bike choose on that section? Because obviously the smart bike, much smarter than me, was picking the right gear for whatever section we were doing. So people were asking me or my bike tips.
For recommendations, for gear selection. Yeah, I think both super impressed with it. But still, it just seems like I almost thought it was like a niche thing that maybe most people weren't ready for. Anyway, here's the Yamaha rationale in their press release as to why they think it will enhance the riding experience. So, number one, they say engagement. With a closer and more refined connection to the brain than the feet, the hands are one of the most tactile and powerful tools the human body has. Shifting by hand alone, as opposed to foot and hand combination, is not only quicker, but requires less thinking time, allowing you to hyper-focus on throttle and brake application, lean angle, body position, and tyre grip levels to intensify the ride.
That's a really, really long explanation.
It basically saying shifting with your hands is better, quicker.
Yeah. They're basically saying your hands are closer to your head, therefore they are faster than your feet, which probably scientifically would be correct, but they're definitely more dexterous. Is that the right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is dexterous. Yeah.
Oh, that's very true, but I wouldn't say I've ever run into any problems where I think that I wasn't able to shift gear because my foot...
Because it's too slow. Yeah.
Number 2, enjoyment. MT, which is the manual version, has been developed to amplify the fun of sports riding, maximising the power characteristics of our cross-plane concept engine designs and sportiest ride modes, and with the speed and precision of each shift more consistent than when using the latest quick shifter, the excitement and adrenaline of the fast gear changes in the sportiest of riding conditions take the thrill to the next level.
Well, it sounds
I felt
great.
like I had to do movie trailer voice.
Yeah, I think you do need that, yeah.
Again, can't say that I've noticed any quick shifters being particularly sluggish.
No, that's fair. I mean, you've used quick shifters in the past.
I mean, they've probably got better over the years, but like it's never been a barrier to enjoyment. But
no.
I suppose it might have this real kind of quick snap to it. You know?
Maybe.
Number 3, exhilaration. As all our technological developments, YMT was born from Jinki Kano, which is our goal of providing you with the seductive exhilaration of becoming one with the machine. Now, this is where it starts getting a little bit racy, Tim.
Oh, hello. Yeah.
I know. Have you ever been one with your machine?
Not yet.
Have you felt that?
Yeah, no, there's still time. I think it'd burn.
That's too much information. That's why YMT makes each ride even more fun and engaging, immersing you into a flow state where every movement feels natural and precise, fostering a true symbiosis with the bike. YMT allows you to focus on throttle braking and cornering. That's
like
where I draw
Avatar?
the line.
It's Avatar. That's like taking your ponytail and sticking it into the fuel cap.
Mate.
And being one
It's not
with the
your
machine. That's what I call it. I don't know what you call it. Yeah.
More like a piggy tail.
Oh, you've seen it then. So yeah, I would say... do you know what I did? As you were sort of reading out their explanation, it did occur to me one small point, which is that both of us have ridden electric bikes, right? And the Zeros that we have ridden, I would say there is an exhilaration to it because it is uninterrupted acceleration, right? And that's one of the things with... It genuinely has its own place and value to it when you're on an electric and it is fully automatic and you just open the throttle and it just feels like it'll go to infinity. And that might be the same with this.
That's what's cool about DCT, dual clutch, because it's seamlessly, I've probably explained this so many times, but 2 sets of gears, first, third and fifth, and then second, fourth and sixth. And so the 2 clutches can blend between those 2 boxes and go up the box and then back down. And you get that seamless acceleration, which is brilliant. And I'd agree, it feels somewhat similar to like when you ride an electric bike and there are no interruptions. But this is ultimately a regular gearbox and clutch. And so I wonder how slick it can be with the electronics. Like, can they fine-tune it so much that it does feel almost uninterrupted? Or is it still going to have a little bit of like, like, you know, knocking down the revs a bit? Anyway, I'm sure we'll find out soon. I've got the e-clutch CB650R coming quite soon, so that'll give me some idea of what the clutch part of it's like. As for when any of these bikes with this technology, the BMW, the KTM and this Yamaha actually come to the market, it's not really clear because they're just saying they've got the tech in the works. They haven't said which bikes or anything like that, but I'm definitely looking forward to riding it. But in the meantime, to get a bit more of an understanding of, you know, that's Yamaha's take on why they think people will want it, I thought I'd put a community post out on the main Motobob YouTube channel and ask who actually wants this. And these were the top comments, so the ones with the most likes. I think I've picked out 6. So 2 wheels are enough, says Apparently Honda sells more DCT units wherever that option is available for certain models, like the Goldwing, Africa Twin, Adventure Sport, NT1100, which I've heard from Honda as well firsthand. So he says, I've got a few two-wheelers, including a 125 scooter, which is the preferred means for in-town riding. I think an automatic motorbike would be better for such a job than a manual shift one. And even in the hairpins of the mountain roads, I sometimes find myself regretting no auto gearbox for the bikes I ride. In my honest opinion, there is nothing wrong with offering such an option. Also, even without trying one, the e-clutch seems great for leaving the possibility of using the lever. Oh yeah, you can do a bit of both. Yeah. We will see, but it seems like the future. So I don't know, I like that. That's very open-minded, because having not even really tried it, two wheels are enough, is saying I'll give it a go. And I'm open-minded, so I respect that stance. Simpleman1861 says motorcycle enthusiasts are going to start sounding like car guys, i.e. real motorcycle enthusiasts ride manual.
Yeah.
You know,
it's already getting that way a little bit.
There's a bit of snobbishness.
I think we sound that a little bit as well.
Do we?
Actually. Well, yeah, when we're sort of
toxic masculinity.
I guess if you want to label it that. But yeah, I would say there's a little being stuck in the past. Yeah, and there's kind of, like you said, there's an elitism of being like, oh, manual's the only way.
Are you a proper biker? Yeah, fair enough. Come on, let's open our minds, Tim, to new technology. Sunrise Jack 2709 says, I've had 2 DCT Hondas. Now, we're getting into the real experience here of owning a bike that has this auto manual mode, and I think there's a couple of opinions from that sort of background. One was an XADV, which is one of your favourite bikes. In fact, we got a great clip.
I sent you a clip the other day. I really want one, yeah.
Of you riding one through a Ford as well.
Yeah.
And going a little bit too fast, I think, and maybe sort of getting a bit of water in the engine. We'll put that clip on the screen now. We'll dig that one out. And also, we'll put that clip on the screen that you sent me of the guy stunting.
Yeah, really good, actually.
On an XADV. Anyway, sorry, Sunrise Jack says, I've had an XADV and now an NT1100. I'll never go back to traditional manual transmission again. The benefits are just overwhelmingly good. I sing the praises of DCT to anyone who'll listen. That's true. We're listening. A converted DCT disciple. DCT is the greatest innovation in motorcycling since ABS. I'm very happy but not surprised to see the further adoption of auto clutches and gearboxes in the motorcycle world. I mean, I think it's quite clear which side Sunrise Jack sits on there. But fair enough. I think there's a lot of people who have tried DCT like us, and we were surprised at how good it was. And the people who own it, I've rarely met anyone actually who's bought a DCT bike and said I hated it and I chopped it in. Is that true?
No, I can't say I've met any either. And yeah, in terms of sales, definitely, because when I was buying mine, it was actually really hard to find. Well, not really hard, but harder to find a manual. Yeah, my Africa Twin.
Hard to find a manual. Yeah, harder. Which you'd think would be the default choice. But Agnelvas, to answer the question who asked for it, I did. Just riding an automatic over a manual is so much relief to the hands and legs on a long tour, which is another angle as well. That kind of like, I don't think Yamaha mentioned that, but like, is it a little less fatiguing to ride an auto bike?
Can be.
Probably if you're doing serious miles, and that's why I think it's probably most appropriate. I think the town riding angle is a good one, but for adventure bikes, like real do it all rounders, probably it's going to fit in quite nicely there as well. Let these bikes go past.
Symphony of two strokes.
Cause I'm a loser 777. Oh, you don't have to say that. Come on.
Self-deprecating.
Might catch a lot of flack, but the DCT is a game changer for tight technical off-road trails, which firsthand would say we agree with that, and it maybe sounds a bit counterintuitive. Take that screw out. Says excited for this one, can't wait. So you, another open-minded biker. And then lastly, Hollow 2788 says I have a 2016 Honda NC700X DCT. Like other comments, I will never go back to manual. I drive in the city the majority of the time for work, and nothing beats an auto in traffic. Friends who ride gave me so much shit for getting the DCT bike. They're the closed-minded, toxic bikers that we were talking about. There they are. But once I let them ride it, which is generous if they were giving you a lot of grief,
to be fair,
they loved it. They were surprised. Biggest thing they said is just enjoying the actual ride more, never worrying what gear or stalling in traffic. Isn't the whole point of riding to get more people into riding? It's one big community, and all those it's not a real bike or I never stalled people just need to lay off. I bet most of them have a quick shifter. All I can say is try it and you will be surprised. Plus the 70 plus miles per gallon on my NC700 is amazing. Haha. Ride safe, everyone.
Thanks. I love the names that we've got here as well. Yeah, no, I agree. I think, yeah, if I was doing... Do you know, that's the reason I was... when I was looking at the Africa Twin, because I do a lot of commuting, and it sounded like a great deal to me as well. I really wanted the DCT because of just sitting on your clutch the whole time when you're riding in, and it made a lot of sense to me then, and makes a lot of sense to me when you see people on XADVs as well. I had someone fly past me on one of them before because they really can shift. So yeah, it's a good choice. I think my use case would be town specifically, and then, like you say, off-road if you want something to sort of take your hand and guide you through how to go off-road.
Great. Well, I enjoyed that little bit of a deep dive into some of the rationale there, and like I say, I think that probably draws a line under it, but it seems like this huge trend, and I'll expect maybe at EICMA this year or next year's riding season a lot of bikes with this sort of tech, but until we get to ride it, I don't think we can comment much further because it's all speculation. Next up, we've got Suzuki's V-Strom 800DE dressed up in quite a tasty looking rally kit. This is actually at the show here, so we'll try and get some B-roll of it.
Okay.
We'll go over to Suzuki in a moment and have a good look at it. But basically, I think one of their race teams, SR75 World Team Suzuki, has taken everything they know about off-road riding and tried to spec this bad boy up to make it even more off-road biased. It's not one you've had the delight of sampling, is it? But it's a bike I reviewed a while back.
It's one that does well, and I've seen a little bit. I think one of the biggest advocates for it is Brake Magazine. If you've seen his YouTube channel.
He actually just walked past.
Oh.
Yeah, it might even be in the
No
media. Is that not him there?
Could well, yeah, I think actually. There we go.
He's in
This
the media
guy,
office.
that I'm staring at right now.
Yeah.
I've seen him on it a lot, and he rides it very well. So yeah, it's it does a lot for their name, for their brand, and for that bike, and it's one of the really affordable or more affordable options if you want to get into it. So
when I reviewed this bike, you're always trying to think of a snappy title for like a YouTube review or video. It helps with the performance and give it a bit of interest, sell it. I think I put something like, is it as good as it looks? Because I thought it was a cool looking bike. I got loads of comments of people saying it looks terrible, so hopefully at least as good as it looks.
You've set the bar really low.
I thought it's a cool looking bike. I've put a picture here for you just to refresh your mind.
No, I agree.
I think they went quite bold on the styling job, and I like that. A lot of people complained that Honda were too conservative with the Transalp, and I thought Suzuki at least gave it.
No, I think they've done well. I think we've said this before, but for me, in terms of just a styling exercise, adventure bikes very rarely hit the mark for me. It's a hard one to get right, I think, and also they tend to have to sort of. I have to see them more for it to grow on me. It's not an instant.
This is definitely a
head
grower,
over heels
I
with.
think.
But yeah, I think it's it looks like a grower.
Well, I've got some details here, so let's rattle through exactly what they've done to it. So they said that they've built upon a platform that's already the most off-road biased V-Strom they've ever built, really. But this one gets an AS3 sump guard, so a bit more protection underneath. And an AS3 handlebar riser, so I guess that's going to make it a little bit easier when you're standing up. And also they've got a set of RM Z450 bars, handlebars, so maybe a slightly different riding position, something a bit more hardcore and resilient. They've got the same engine, so it is a 776cc parallel twin. It's really smooth. That's one of the things I really like about it.
Yeah, so I hear.
Peachy engine, and all they've done is modify the exhaust system, like you say, so it's an FMF titanium exhaust system, so it'll probably shed a bit of weight. But I imagine that also sounds pretty fantastic, and it looks like they got rid of the cat underneath. Yes. So again, that'll be a lot of the weight gone. As standard, it comes with a 21-inch front for the off-road riding, but it is a 17-inch rear. I guess that gives you a better choice of road focus tires, maybe, or something like that. This particular one, though, they've given it a touch more off-road bias with still a 21-incher at the front, but an 18 at the rear, and they're spoked wheels from NV, and then they're shod with Dunlop D209RR tires and mousses. Are you into mousses?
Sure. I love mousses.
Do you know what a moose is?
No, I'm gonna.
It's like this shows how
big things, antlers, right?
Yeah. No, instead of having tubes or air in there, it's like a foam.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you don't get punctures, but it's obviously like lower pressure as well than what it would be.
Have you experienced with mooses?
I've never ridden a bike with mooses. I don't think. I've never ridden a moose. But yeah, it's quite common. It's like a thing that you would do if you were going to do kind of like a hardcore off-road kind of enduro race or something like that. And then the whole package is finished off with the SR75 Suzuki livery. I used to pronounce that as livery. And then somebody commented, like, that's not how it's said. And I've been doing it for years. And now every time I say livery, I'm like, I feel like a fraud. From GP Graphics, who I guess specialise in liveries. Liveries?
I prefer livery now.
Yeah. I think it looks quite good, doesn't it, that?
Yeah, no, it does.
I always think with this sort of thing, they should probably... I mean, you probably can go to GP Graphics and buy the sticker pack for your regular bike, but like maybe people don't want the super loud exhaust and the spoke wheels with mousses and the different tyres. They might just want to ride it on the road still.
Yeah.
But maybe just want it to look a bit more rally style, in which case I think the sticker pack would do the trick.
Yeah. That's my cup of tea for adventure bikes. I think, it looks about as good as any others do it. So, yeah, pretty.
Lovely stuff.
Next one, then, is a story about KTM, which I think, actually, I've been waiting on for a while. This does somewhat excite me, because it's the capacity and size of bike that I know both of us really enjoy, and, you know, most people will recommend going for a smaller, lighter bike anyway. But there's a more aggressive 390 Adventure on the way, which we've both borrowed, both really liked. I mean, I think I liked it more than most reviewers, but then I don't have the same sort of experience as a lot of people who were reviewing that bike. Yeah. I think some of the criticism that was levelled at it was things like peg position. I think it was Fortnite actually mentioned about it being angled too far forward, so it's sporty, you can't really get a comfortable standing up position, and it wants to buck you over the front, which I, on reflection, went, yeah, that does make a little bit more sense to me. So this one looks, first of all, it's got a visual upgrade. Yeah. Like it? Don't like it?
I mean, this is the direction that all KTMs seem to be going in at the moment. You know, we've had spy shots of a 990, a 1390. So this is their smaller capacity adventure bike, 390. Maybe it'll be a 490, I don't know. But their smaller capacity bikes, their middles, the what will be the 990 Adventure, their big capacity, are all going into this visual style, which is much more rally inspired. They're saying, a lot of people, that this is basically taking inspiration from the 450 rally bikes that they use for Dakar and stuff. And because that's kind of like the sexy image, the race bikes, they're sort of applying a little bit more of that tall perspex screen with like projector headlights in the middle.
Stacked headlights as well.
They're applying that to their road bikes to sell a bit more of the kind of Dakar dream, I suppose. I think it looks all right. I think the technical changes that are sort of on there might be more meaningful and exciting to people, because like you say, the current 390 Adventure is predominantly a road bike that just is jacked up a little bit, and it's got a 19-incher at the front.
It's a smidge better than, say, your typical scrambler, where like a scrambler is something where you can take it off-road but not too seriously. I think one of the things I sort of noticed on it was, lower ground clearance. I definitely noticed that taking it off-road. So this one is, I believe, taller, a little bit skinnier as well from the spy shots that they've got of this. Yeah,
it does look a bit slim. And then, is it a 21-incher up front on this bike as well? That would be another big change.
Yeah, I think so.
I think the current 390 has cast wheels. There is an option to then get spoke wheels, but they're still, you know, like a 19-inch on the front, I think. So it does look a little more off-road bias with the wheel set. Like you say, slimmed down a bit perhaps. They reckon it'll still be a single and make that 42 horsepower-ish, which I think is, you know, you're looking at around the limit for A2 compatibility anyway, so it's never going to go.
It'd be silly to make it over that by, if you make it over that by a couple of horsepower, there's no point, because you're just sort of taking out a bracket of your potential, you know, buyers. So yeah, it would make sense, and it also plays with a lot of other ones, and it's, you know, gives out the right direction for them. With the Himalayan 450 as a good sort of competitor, the CF Moto 450 MT, which we love, and we've seen here, and we've heard from the guys at CF Moto how popular that has been.
They said that demo rides at ABR are booked out all day already for the CF Moto 450 MT. So it does feel like there are some really good 400 to 500cc adventure bikes with quite a serious off-road bias available at the moment. And so perhaps that's what they had to lean into here in order to kind of keep it competitive. And it does look pretty good. I mean, it'd be right in that sweet spot for me of like manageable and slim, but maybe a bit more confidence inspiring than the current 390 off-road. Yeah, we've seen plenty of people out on the Himalayan as well. That seems to have been selling well, so maybe they're on to win it. In fact, obviously there's a partnership with KTM and CF Moto. They share manufacturing, they share some designs and componentry and stuff like that. Yeah. It will be a very similar bike to that CF Moto 450 MT, and I wonder if there's some shared knowledge. The only fundamental difference is that 450 is a twin, parallel twin, whereas this would be a single.
Yes, yeah, but actually, to be fair, that is a fair difference. Yeah, there's that partnership, if you like, with CF Moto, where KTM and CF Moto, or CF Moto, make some of their, is it the 790 bikes, but they do construct some of them. With this one, interestingly though, I guess it's not the same engine as you've sort of already pointed out, but it's made in India. They're
Bajaj, who also make the Triumph. So I think any KTM that's 390 or below is made by Bajaj in India. So yeah, that's a good point. It won't be on the same platform then.
No.
Well done, mate. Good
Thanks, man.
detective work. Okay. Well, anyway, I'm looking forward to that one, and it'll definitely be one of the bikes high on the list. If it comes out end of this year to demo next year, I'm going to love testing that out. Now, another new bike that just dropped into my inbox just before we got here, actually. It was literally on the drive yesterday. This one came out from the Ducati press team, is a Ducati DesertX Discovery. So it's basically an accessory pack, but I thought we'd have a little look at it because it does look rather tasty. And this is one of the bikes, again, super popular at the show here. Lots of them going out on the adventure trail for demos and stuff like that. And it's been a bike that's been really well reviewed and well received, I think, since it launched. But it seems like they're trying to gear this one a little more towards the comfort and distance and touring side of adventure riding. Whereas before now, I think this bike has had quite an off-roady, sort of rally-inspired image. So what you're getting is reinforced handguards, a reinforced engine guard for a bit more protection underneath. It does come on as standard, I think, but maybe it's not particularly robust. And then you also get heated grips and a bigger windscreen, so that's going to give you, a bit more warmth over distance on those cooler days. And it also gets a center stand, which Ducati referred to in the press release as a central stand look. The central stand makes the motorcycle more stable, facilitating access to luggage during stops and maintenance operations on the chain and rear wheel. So I've never heard it called a central stand.
That's not what you call it, though. Yeah, they've just made their own words.
That might be a translation. Yeah. And then also on top of that, you get the 76-litre aluminium cases as standard, which combine functionality and style, allowing you to carry everything you need for limitless adventures. And then it's got an asterisk. It probably says not actually limitless.
It's like
the
that
fuel range.
Yeah, was it like Pepsi Max that said about like having a jet? No, Red Bull I heard recently where it says Red Bull gives you wings.
And then they have asterisk.
And then they changed it to wings, as in like WIIINGS or something like that, because people actually did send them loads of messages being like, didn't give me wings, mate.
You've got to cover your ass, basically, if you're going to launch a product, haven't you? We might have to think about that with Full Tank Motorcycle Podcast. It is a motorcycle podcast, but is your tank full right now? You have to put asterisk. Anyway, this one comes in at £17,295 versus £14,995 for the base bike. Now, that base model, there's two ways to look at this. It's a lot of money for a middleweight adventure bike. If you think, I know like it's a 937 or whatever, so for a lot of people they say that's large capacity, but in the Ducati lineup I would say it's like the mid option versus the Multistrada V4.
Yeah, it's crazy that is mid now, but yes, that is mid.
15 grand's a lot of money. And then if you look at something like a Tenere as a much more basic and spec down version, that starts at about 10 grand. 790 Adventure is down around that sort of money as well. And even the really good ones like Norden 901, Tiger 900 maybe, 890 Adventure. I think you're more looking in the 12 and 13 grand range. In fact, even the BMW F900 GS, which looks really good. I've got one of those coming in August to test out, but it slimmed it down a lot, made it a lot more off-road focused. It seems as a response to bikes like this, which has really nailed that. That is like in the 11 and 12, I think, kind of range. So, this bike is already quite expensive.
Yeah.
2,300 for luggage, sump guard, handguards, heated grips, bigger windscreen. It's quite a lot, isn't it?
I'm interested to hear what the second way of looking at that was. Because you started with, one of the ways to look at it is that it's quite pricey, and I'm not seeing any other direction.
I think the other way to look at it is it's really good. Like, people will say it's a properly good bike, the DesertX. So 15 grand, you may as well spend the money. It's a Ducati, you get a little bit of that.
It's potentially class leading, is it sort of fair to say?
I think some people would probably say that. In terms of how it rides, it's really good on the road. And then, of course, with that sort of spec, it's always going to be pretty good off-road as well. So for adventure riding, well, you're not maybe doing hardcore stuff, but it's easily capable of.
Yeah.
And in the right hands, it's probably very impressive what it can do. So that was just my perspective on the. And if you think about like features, like it's got a V-twin, quite an exciting engine to have.
True.
It's got loads of power. It's like one of the most powerful bikes in that market.
It genuinely offers something different from the rest of the crowd. Because like you say, most of them, if they're that capacity, are going to be, or that size, are going to be a parallel twin, not a V-twin. And there is a subtle difference between the two. And it is, in the right hands, an absolute weapon.
And it looks so good as well. It still looks good to me. The only thing I will say on this Discovery Edition is this red and white paint job. I'm not maybe quite so fond of it as the standard white, which they've done a few different versions of it now. The one that I reviewed actually had this quite cool black paint job with a graphical treatment and some kind of like red accents. I do think that looked pretty good.
Yeah.
But I think still the base model the regular first version that they released is probably my favourite. But I suppose that's another thing you get added here is a dedicated paint job. And it is red, which is fitting for a Ducati.
Yeah.
Rate it, or where do you land on this one?
Yeah, I think exactly the same as you said. I prefer the original and the white. It just looks so good in the white with black details across it. Red's great, but yeah, more practical. I'd probably still go with the original.
Mate, we've got to do it. Our editor will have to speed this up. But the only thing to do to say whether this is actually worthwhile is to go onto the Ducati configurator with the standard DesertX, configure it. We're going to add all those accessories. We'll fast forward this bit and then tell you how much it costs. Right, we've done it. And it comes in at £17,991.29 to be exactly precise. And so the resolution of this section of the podcast is that the DesertX Discovery, I had to remember the name there, is in fact a good deal because you save about 700 quid versus if you just took the standard DesertX and spec'd it up with the exact same accessories from their parts catalogue. So in that sense, fair play. They're offering a bit of a deal there, so well done. Now moving on, we've got comment of the week now, and this is from Carlos Lopez 4387, and this is something that's come up loads in the comments of some of my videos recently. I reviewed the Svartpilen 801 and there's absolutely tons of comments about this. He says, I have a challenge for both of you guys. There's been a problem with the camshafts having abnormal wear of the KTM Duke 790 and 890, and KTM is not addressing the issue, or at times not honouring the warranty. Please look into this matter. Now, honestly, the number of comments on that Svartpilen video about this camshaft issue is quite something. And I did a quick Google to look into, like, is it coming up elsewhere on forums and stuff? And there were quite a few KTM forum posts about having problems, and also Reddit threads and things like that. It's not something I'd necessarily noticed before. Is it something you've heard of? KTM's having problems with camshafts?
No, I think the thing I'd heard when I was riding or reviewing the 790, which is a while back now, was about gearboxes. I think that's the only thing I heard as a question mark over KTM. I haven't
electronics
heard...
as well sometimes.
Right, okay.
I think, look, I'm not going to be able to research this and give an opinion on it right now, to be honest, because it's such a big problem there. And if they're being accused of not honouring the warranty, like, I don't want to really get into that unless I've got hard facts and examples of that happening. So I will say that I wouldn't necessarily endorse this issue as like wholeheartedly real, and I've researched that because I just don't have time to properly look into it. But I think what I do want to say about it is it's very, very, very difficult for someone doing what I do as a job to give an opinion on the reliability of a motorcycle as part of a review, because I'd love to do 5,000 mile reviews or ownership reviews where you run the bike for 6 months or a year and then tell people truly what that owner's experience was like. But it's just not feasible to run a YouTube channel that reviews motorcycles and spend that amount of time on each bike. The channel just would not exist because that isn't possible. I think what I'm saying here is, like, I don't think I'll ever really comment much on the reliability of bikes because I don't think I've got long enough with them. And also, every bike that I ride has been prepped, like in the days leading up to me borrowing it, by a mechanic that is in-house at that brand. What I will say is that anyone who's uncertain about this is you just have to look for owners' reviews. Owners' reviews exist on YouTube. Forum posts as well, I think, is really important to check those out before you buy a bike and see if there are any problems. And the other one as well is look at MCN's reviews, Motorcycle News. That's, one of the main publications here in the UK, if not the biggest, probably. On their digital reviews on their website of every single bike, they allow people to post their owners' reviews beneath it, and they aggregate the scores for different categories. So there's like dealer experience and how the bike performs, but one is reliability, and you get a star score out of 5 for reliability aggregated across those owners' reviews.
Yeah.
And if it's particularly low, then you versus another bike, let's say, that you're considering buying. And of course, there's some bias in, like, obviously the people who've had a really good experience or a really bad experience are the ones more likely to leave a review. But, what that does allow you to do, if you see a particularly bad score is drill into those owners' reviews and have a look for issues and see what they are in particular. And so I think that's probably a good route to go down if you're thinking about the KTMs, is go and have a look at the 890 Duke, 890 Adventure, 790 Duke, 790 Adventure reviews on there. Have a look at what people have said in the owners' comments. And I would say hopefully, you know, their motivation for leaving those comments is for the good of everybody else, and so hopefully they're kind of honest and there's not really any reason for them to say otherwise.
Yeah, no, I've used it before now as well when I'm looking to buy a bike, and I think whenever I'm buying a second-hand bike, it's one of my first port of calls is to go on something like MCN and look at owners' reviews of reliability, and I just go straight to reliability because I know what they're going to handle like.
You buy the ones with the lowest reliability, presumably.
Yeah, and I'll aim specifically for those.
With your checkered history of motorcycle ownership, that's the only logical explanation for buying Moto Guzzi's and Ducatis.
All right, I left myself exposed there.
You left yourself wide open. Moving swiftly on, we've got Bike of the Week to wrap things up today, and this one's from... Look, sorry, I should say the camshaft issue affects 790 Adventures and 890 Adventures. So I think in our ABR theme, we've done really well here to get a nice selection of stories about adventure bikes and things that are related to it. Bike of the Week, though, I've just absolutely dropped the theme.
You've gone off piste, yeah.
Because I quite like the look of this one, and I thought if we don't cover it this week, I'll probably forget next week. It's the Moto Morini Seiemmezzo STR bolt-on kit. Now, this is their 650 parallel twin, not the most beautiful sounding engine. It is a 180 crank, but won't hold that against it. I borrowed the Scrambler version and reviewed it, and I thought for the money, it's quite a desirable looking bike, and also the spec was decent, and I had a good time. I had fun with it. This is just a little bolt-on kit, though, that they've added to the road bias version, so it doesn't get the kind of semi-knobbly tyres, and it's a bit less rugged looking. This is the standard bike. Kind of looks like an okay sort of average naked. Yeah. Nothing particularly outlandish
stand
about
out, but
it.
no, it's nice.
This, though, is the bolt-on kit. And here we go. Headlight fairing, so a little cowl there. A seat cowl as well, so it looks a bit single seat. Fairing lowers. And also, they say, a higher license plate. Where do you stand on these swing-on mounted license plate holders? People really hate them.
I don't hate them.
I don't mind them.
Yeah, I don't mind them. I had one on my Ducati Scrambler, actually, because I had the Icon, and it was fine. I think I do prefer the under-seat option in some scenarios.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really affect me too much, to be honest.
I owned the Trident 660 for a while, and hugely in the comments there was a theme of like, I hate that low. And there was even a third-party accessory to delete it and put it back up under the saddle. I don't really get. I don't hate it that much.
Hate. No, like it is what it is. But yeah, it's fine. I think it looks better on that one to have the under seat option. I think the seat cover as well, seat cowl is nice.
Do you think like they moved it there down by the swing arm as a design feature, and then they're like, hey, here's a extra accessory kit where you can pay a little bit more and we'll put it back where it normally would have been.
Isn't that
They're
ironic
charging
how
you to...
trends, they change. Yeah, no, I agree. And then with cafe races, there was a whole sort of like movement, I think with some cruisers and bobbers and stuff as well. It's quite common to
I think it looks good on that style of bike.
They do, it does look good, but it's also people pay extra, like you say, for that as an accessory. There they've done it on the main design, and then they've gone, here's an accessory to put it back under the seat. It is a bit weird.
One could see that as a little bit cheeky, but I'm going to say the standard bike is good value at $5,999.
Yeah.
Given you get Morini design style, I think it's quite a cool looking bike. I will say the engine's not exactly going to set the world on fire, and also I think maybe there's some Chinese build there, which I don't know, I'm a bit over talking about whether things are built in China or not, but I think people probably say that's part of the price being quite low. It's not built in Italy, let's say that much, whereas with the Moto Guzzi, for example, they're still built in Italy, so if that matters to you, then maybe it's worth being aware of. $5,999 is decent though, but for this one, with the seat cowl, headlight cowl, lower fairing, the license plate with the big one. It's only another 250 quid, so 6,249, which, we totted up the accessories on the DesertX and found that it was actually a reasonably good deal. Yeah. I think, unquestionably, try and get a little fairing and a tail tidy for 250 quid from like Pyramid Plastics or something like that, and you'll be struggling. Yeah, you would. So I think that's also probably quite a decent deal. Yeah. Rate it? Which one you prefer, with or without the kit?
I definitely prefer the kit version, for sure. I think, it's a little bit more balanced. I think having a belly pan usually looks quite nice as well. So, I'd go for that option.
I detect some kind of lunch-based products on the wind there. We keep getting a gust of like, what is that, burrito?
Yeah.
So I think that might be
Smells
time
like beans to me. I think we're going to see you
Beans?
just drift off and
I
follow
think
your nose
that's
like one of
just
those
time
cartoons.
wrap up the pod. It's been quite a long one. What are we on now? 51 minutes of pure gold. So thank you everybody for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this this little excursion into the outside world, and we're not sat in our respective studios. It's good to see you in 3D actually.
Yeah, it's nice.
He does exist.
It's good to behold you with my own eyes.
Easy. Right. Thank you very much everybody for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.